definitely works today. The hour of convening has arrived. Would ask this rowdy bunch to come to order and ask that the doorkeepers or all unauthorized persons exit the chamber. Senator from the 53rd, your scarf matches your mask slightly. Is that intentional?
Of course, yes, sir, Mr. President. It is intentional. I always dress that way, make sure I pick out my linen properly. No, that's actually coincidental.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 53rd.
Mr. President, thank you. I just thought we was having a casual conversation, but
I asked
you're
a
right.
yes/no question, but
it's a great day here. I'm here with my colleagues, a few that actually showed up, and we're here ready to fight for the people of Georgia, or to work for the people of Georgia. Today is National Stuffed Flounder Day. And to my good friends that enjoy the grapes of our fair state, it is Drink Wine Day. Senator from the 49th made sure I knew that. The journal's been read and found to be correct, Mr. President.
So I learned two things: Stuffed Flounder Day and Drink Wine Day. You got anything else? Okay. Is there objection to dispensing with the reading of the journal? The chair hears none, and the reading of the journal is dispensed with. Is there objection to the confirmation of the journal? The chair hears none, and the journal is confirmed. All senators who have bills or resolutions, please bring them to the secretary's desk at this time. Single file line, please. Single file. Just kidding. All right, Mr. Secretary, first reading of Senate bills and resolutions, please.
Senate Bill 199 by Senator Mullis of the 53rd, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 11 of Title 48 of the OCGA relating to taxes on tobacco and vaping products so as to permit the sale and delivery of tobacco products, alternative nicotine products. Senate Bill 200 by Senators Anna Vitarte of the 31st and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Part 1 of Article 3 of Chapter 3 of Title 38 of the OCGA relating to emergency powers of the governor so as to provide that certain business and religious institutions may continue or resume operations.
Government oversight.
Senate Bill 201 by Senator Huffsettler of the 52nd, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 2 of Chapter 2 of Title 48 of the OCGA relating to the administration of revenue and taxation so as to require financial institutions to provide. Senate Bill 202 by Senators Burns of the 23rd and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 2 of Title 21 of the OCGA relating to elections and primaries generally.
Ethics.
Senate Bill 203 by Senators Gooch of the 51st and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Part 4 of Article 1 of Chapter 8 of Title 40 of the OCGA relating to horns, exhaust systems, mirrors, windshields, tires, safety belts.
Transportation.
Senate Resolution 117 by Senator C. of the 34th and others, a resolution recognizing and commending the Democratic Party of Clayton County and the Young Democrats of Clayton County.
Rules.
Senate Resolution 125 by Senators Jackson of the 2nd and others, a resolution encouraging equitable and diverse gender representation on the boards and in the senior management of Georgia companies and institutions.
Rules.
Senate Resolution 126 by Senators Jackson of the 2nd and others, a resolution honoring the life of civil rights leader and United States Representative John Robert Lewis and dedicating a bridge in his memory and for other purposes.
Transportation.
This completes the order, Mr. President.
Mr. Secretary, first reading of House bills and resolutions, please.
House Bill 90 by Representatives Williamson of the 115th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 3 of Chapter 12 of Title 51 of the OCGA relating to damages for conversion of timber so as to provide
Banking.
House Bill 130 by Representatives Gullett of the 19th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 60 of Title 36 of the OCGA relating to general provisions applicable to
State and
counties.
local government general.
House Bill 154 by Representatives Reeves of the 34th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Title 19 of the OCGA relating to domestic relations so as to strengthen, clarify, and update provisions relating to the protection. House Bill 282 by Representatives Meeks of the 178th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 13 of Chapter 5 of Title 48 of the OCGA relating to ad valorem taxation or qualified timberland property so as to.
Finance.
House Bill 287 by Representatives Rich of the 97th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Part 2 of Article 6 of Chapter 2 of Title 20 of the OCGA relating to competencies and core curriculum so as to include tobacco and vapor products in the course
Education and youth.
This completes the order, Mr. President.
Will the Secretary please read reports of standing committees?
Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Education and Youth has had under consideration the following legislation and has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendations. Senate Bill 51, do pass. Senate Bill 42, do pass by substitute. Senate Bill 59, do pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Senator Payne of the 54th. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Ethics has had under consideration the following legislation and has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. Senate Bill 89, do pass by substitute. Senate Bill 40, do pass by substitute. Senate Bill 69, do pass by substitute. Senate Bill 184, do pass. Senate Bill 188, do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Burns of the 23rd. Mr. President, the following Committee on Finance has had under consideration the following legislation and has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. Senate Bill 148, do pass by substitute. Senate Bill House Bill 265, do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Huffsettler of the 52nd. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Health and Human Services has had under consideration the following legislation and has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendations. Senate Bill 116, do pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Senator Watson of the 1st. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Judiciary has had under consideration the following legislation and has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. Senate Bill 28, do pass. Senate Bill 75, do pass by substitute. Senate Bill 105, do pass by substitute. Senate Bill 114, do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Strickland of the 17th. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Natural Resources and Environment has had under consideration the following legislation and has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. Senate Bill 119, do pass by committee substitute. Respectfully submitted, Senator Harper of the 7th. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Public Safety has had under consideration the following legislation and has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. Senate Bill 115, do pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Senator Albers of the 56th. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Rules has had under consideration the following legislation and has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. Senate Resolution 62, do pass by substitute. Senate Resolution 11, do pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Senator Mullis of the 53rd. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Urban Affairs has had under consideration the following legislation and has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. Senate Bill 90, do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Jackson of the 2nd. This completes the order, Mr. President.
Mr. Secretary, please read read bills and resolutions for the second time.
Senate Bill 82 by Senator Owl of the 48th and others, emergency medical services, prudent layperson standard is not affected by the final diagnosis given, clarify. Senate Bill 100 by Senator Watson of the 1st and others, state government, the state shall observe standard time year-round, provide. Senate Resolution 28 by Senator Cowsert of the 46th and others, United States Congress, call a convention, limit on the number of terms that a person may be elected. United States House of Representatives, request CA. Senate Resolution 29 by Senator Cowsert of the 46th and others, Article 5 of the United States Constitution, a convention of the states, apply to Congress for balanced budget amendment. This completes the order, Mr. President.
All right, it's now time for morning roll call. It's now time for morning roll call. All right, now time for morning roll call. Are there any motions to excuse? Chair's waiting for the senator from the 33rd. Chair recognizes his good friend, the senator from the 33rd, y'all.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. President and y'all. I ask for unanimous consent to excuse the senator from the 35th, 36th, 38th, Thank you, sir, for unanimous consent to excuse them for business outside the Capitol.
Senator from the 17th must have jokes today. Without objection, the senators from the 35th, 36th, and 38th are excused. The chair recognizes the senator from the 56th.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Either one works.
It's Thursday morning. I'd ask unanimous consent to excuse the senator from the 14th for business outside the Capitol.
Without objection, the senator from the 14th is excused. The chair recognizes the senator from the 28th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask for unanimous consent to excuse the senator from the 25th.
Without objection, the senator from the 25th is excused. Chair recognizes the senator from the 54th.
Yes, Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent to excuse the senator from the 24th.
Without objection, the senator from the 24th is excused. Chair recognizes the senator from the 44th.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I ask for unanimous consent to excuse the senator from the 26th.
Without objection, the senator from the 26th is excused. Are there any additional motions to excuse? Chair sees none. The secretary will call the roll. The senators signify your presence by voting the yea switch. The secretary will unlock the machine. Have all senators voted? Senator from the 15th, the Dean of the Senate. Have all senators voted their attendance? They have now. Mr. Secretary, please close the machine. It's now time for a morning devotional, and I'd ask that all senators take your seats and cease all audible conversations. Doorkeepers, please secure the chamber at this time. I'd like to recognize the senator from the 4th to lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance and to introduce to us our chaplain of the day.
If you please stand to the American flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now the Georgia flag. The Georgia flag and the principle for which it stands, wisdom, justice, harmony. Thank y'all. It's a great pleasure of mine today to introduce you to a gentleman that Joanne and I are very familiar with their ministry, and in fact we support their ministry. The guy's name is David Lee Davis, Dr. David Lee Davis. He's with a ministry by the name of Haggai International, and many of you probably have not heard of that. It's a ministry that's located right here in Atlanta, Georgia. The great thing, many great things about ministries, as we all know, but this ministry reaches throughout the whole world, and their mission is to bring leaders from other countries, market leaders from other countries over here and train them and send them back to their own country. We all know that all of our churches have missionaries that from our own churches that go to other parts of the world, and I think we have a hard time relating to those parts of the world. That's what's so unique about this particular ministry. They actually bring people from other parts of the world over here and train them and then send them back. Pretty cool. And over a period of time, Dr. Haggai, John Haggai was one that started in 1965, and they've trained over 123,000 people to go back to their own countries. And they train about 5,000 to 6,000 people each year. Joy and I are very proud because each year we sponsor one of the market leaders from one of the other countries coming over here. In fact, I'm very proud because my Sunday school class also sponsors a leader, and then several people in our class do. So let me introduce you to our speaker. Our speaker today is Dr. David Lee Davis. I'm pleased to introduce you to him. David holds a BA in Biblical Studies from Howson College a Master of Divinity from Emory University, and a Doctor of Ministry degree from Princeton Seminary. For 25 years, David served as the United Methodist pastor. I'm a Baptist, he's a Methodist. He planted Hamilton Mill Methodist Church and grew the church from inception to 2,400 members. In 2015, he answered God's call to global mission and outreach and came to Haggai International. He and his wife, Jennifer, live in Houston, Georgia. For over 50 years, Haggai International has been identifying and equipping high-level Christian leaders in emerging nations to demonstrate and present the gospel and to equip others to do the same. Please help me welcome David Lee Davis. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Hickman, and for the invitation, and it's a joy to be here. I've about decided that this is a kind of retribution for all the jokes that clergy tell in the pulpit about politicians and political process, and it's like, let's invite them down to the Capitol and give them 4 minutes. But I am delighted to be here with you, and one of the things that I hope that you do know is that countless prayers are being lifted up on your behalf every day. As Senator Hickman mentioned, I'm pleased to be in ministry with Dr. Beverly Upton Williams at Haggai International and the team there. For 51 years, we've been identifying the highest level Christian leaders in emerging nations and equipping them to present the gospel of Jesus Christ in the unrelenting effort to bring the gospel to the 2.2 billion people globally who've never had a chance to hear the gospel or respond to it or experience its transformative power. We've equipped leaders like Pope Tewodros II of Alexandria, who's now Pope of the Coptic Church. Leaders like Dorothy Kasaka, who is the Executive Director of Kampala City and Senior Advisor to the President of Uganda. And Haggai leaders like Dr. Lazarus Chakwera, who today serves as the President of Malawi. In all, there are 123,000 leaders in 189 nations, and our goal is to equip 1 million more in the next 10 years. One of the things that I have learned from these high-level Christian leaders who integrate faith into their day-to-day life is that faith for them is more than a set of beliefs or an adherence to a particular creed or even a pattern of rituals. For them, faith is a well out of which their life is lived, and more importantly, a well out of which questions about life and civic responsibility are asked. And one of the most significant questions that these marketplace leaders wrestle with during our equipping process is this: what should I do with the power and the position that has been entrusted to me by God? This moment reminds us of a moment in the life of Jesus, recorded in the 13th chapter of John's Gospel. Jesus was about to celebrate Passover with a group of people entrusted to his care. And in that moment, Jesus comes to a realization, as stated by John. And I quote from the scripture, Jesus knew that the Father had put all things under his power. Jesus knew that the Father had put all things under his power. Now imagine that for just a moment. All things under your power. Anything he wanted to do, he could do. He could choose pleasure over pain, success over service, self over others. But what did Jesus do when he came into that moment of the realization of his power? Do you remember? He knew the needs of the people he loved. And their immediate need was to celebrate Passover dinner with clean hands and clean feet. And their greater need was for a clean heart and a heart that was right with God and others. So what did Jesus do in the midst of this realization that he had all power had been given to him? He grabbed a basin of water and a towel. And he washed the feet of his disciples. And then later, he laid down his life so that all of us might have that opportunity to be in right relationship with God and with others. As people of faith, we draw from the well of faith. And we must also wrestle with the questions of responsibility. For faith informs us that with power there is calling. With power there is calling. And you know this. This is why you integrate the devotional time and the prayer time into your work. For you know there is power in your words and power in your actions, power in your debate and power in your vote, power in your attitude and power in the way that you approach others. And you know that this power comes with the gift of a calling to serve others. when Dr. Lazarus Chikwara came to the Haggai Institute at Haggai's Mid-Pacific Center in Maui, Hawaii. And by the way, I've been told by our CEO that all of you are invited to our Mid-Pacific Center in Maui, Hawaii as our guest. In 2022, we would love to have you. After a decade of ministry and teaching and denominational leadership, Dr. Chikwara wrestled with that question. He drew from the well of his faith, and he writes, "God spoke to my heart, and God said, I'm not pulling you away from ministry, but I'm extending your ministry into political service." And today he serves Malawi with integrity and compassion and wisdom. So my presence here is to remind you and to encourage you to draw from the well of your faith, to wrestle with the deeper questions about power and its purpose, and whenever possible, to pick up the towel and to serve others. As I close in prayer, I'd like to close with a prayer written by Haggai leader Dorothy Kasaka, who I mentioned earlier serves as the senior advisor to the president of Uganda and as the mayor of the capital city of Kampala. Let us pray. O Lord, we know that you can do all things and that no purpose of yours is thwarted. We look to you in the face of this virus that has engulfed the nations, and we choose to trust in you. Grant our leaders across the globe great wisdom to guide the nations. We pray that your name would be revered. Hearken to the cries of your people, Lord, for we are wholly dependent upon you, and we humble ourselves before you this day. Your word is flawless, O Lord, and you are a shield to those who take refuge in you, and we take refuge in you alone, Lord. Amen.
All right, the Senate will come back to order. Are there any unanimous consents? Chair sees none. Does any senator wish to rise on a point of personal privilege? Chair recognizes the majority leader for a point of personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. President. A gentleman in my community named James Ray Fulford, but he went by Ray for as long as I ever knew him, came from Wrightsville, Georgia. He's a dirt farmer in Wrightsville, Georgia. And he was one of the first in his family to actually go to college. He went to Southern Poly. Was very, very proud of being able to lead his family with his two younger siblings into actually a college degree. While he was there, he was short of money. He was kind of living in a flop house. And this girl that was going there with him actually loaned him some money so he could pay for his room at the, we'd call it a dive, that he was staying in. He was so impressed that she would be so generous that he married her. So he met Linda up at Southern Poly. They got married, and he ended up moving to Carrollton. He worked for a little wire company called Southwire for a little bit, and was a protege of this guy named Roy Richards, who founded Southwire. After a few years there, I think it was about 7 years, he moved and started his own company with his wife. So Ray and Linda started a company called Ray Lynn. Now, Ray Lynn may sound familiar to you because my day job is with Ray Lynn. They started in 1972, and he grew it from a tractor with a backhoe to one of the top 25 largest construction companies in the state of Georgia. So what you're supposed to do when on an event like this is tell about all of his accomplishments and everything he did business-wise, and how he came from nothing and became super successful in the business community. But what I really wanted to concentrate on this one is his mentorship of me. When I retired from the Army, I moved home and was trying to figure out, what am I going to do? Where am I going to go? And he took a shot on me, even though I knew nothing about construction. He goes, we got a lot of people that know about construction. We need people who know about leadership. And he brought me in. Ray passed this week. He had a health battle that was hard for all of us to watch because he was such a strong and vigorous man until the end. But every time you saw him, it was positive. Everything was going to be okay, regardless of how it turned out. So I just wanted to share that how much I appreciated what he did for me in my life and what he did for our entire community. Thank you. I yield the well.
Thank you, Senator. The chair recognizes the minority whip for a point of personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today we're in good hands so far as the doctor of the day is concerned, who have one of Augusta's own. Dr. George Pursley received his medical degree from the Medical College of Georgia. He has been in private practice serving internal medicine since 1995. He has served as medical director for various health providers, including his job today at Pruitt Augusta Nursing Home. He has served on numerous boards and organizations, including the American Medical Directors Association and the Medical Association of Georgia. And he's also a delegate to the Medical Association of Georgia. So it is my pleasure that we have our Doctor of the Day, Dr. George C. Pursley. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. Chair recognizes the senator from the 3rd for a point of personal privilege.
In support of Black History Month, I would like to recognize a few people in my district whom I feel are deserving of recognition. They are very special and amazing people. I ask you, my fellow senators, to join me in signing a resolution for them that will be available next week. Our Mayor, Cornell Harvey of Brunswick, Georgia, was the first African-American mayor elected in 2013 and re-elected in 2017. He served as commissioner of the North Ward for 10 years and as mayor pro tem for 3 years. He enlisted in the U.S. Air Force and served his country for 29 years, retiring at the highest enlisted rank of Chief Sergeant Major. Mayor Harvey is also a graduate of the University of Maryland and earned the Master of Public Administration degree from Troy University. He has expertly managed significant challenges, including budget deficits, homelessness, and natural disaster, and led Brunswick through the tragic shooting of Ahmaud Arbery. Not only is he my mayor, but a good friend. And next, I would like to introduce you to Mrs. Clinetta Jefferson of Camden County. Mrs. Jefferson serves as a school liaison officer for Kings Bay. She served as a subject matter expert and educational consultant for military families with students in grades 5 through 12. In an effort to serve the diverse and unique educational needs of military families, Mrs. Jefferson earned a graduate degree in education and human development from the George Washington University. She is responsible for developing programs and providing input on policies and practices which directly impact military children in Camden County and across the state. She is also a member of several boards and committees, always to enhance the capacity of the local community to serve the needs of all people. I will come back on Monday and give you the other two because of the time limit. Thank you. I yield well.
Thank you, Senator. You've done well. Chair recognizes the senator from the 5th for a point of personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, colleagues. I rise today in honor of Black History Month. Like many of you, I'm an admirer of history. I enjoy looking back to honor and learn more about our ancestors, people who have turned around their lives and the lives of those around them. It is important to remember, to understand, and to learn. What is also important is to understand when we are living in history right now. Today, for Black History Month, I'm honoring Georgia's first Black female to lead either party in the Georgia State Senate, Senator Gloria Singleton Butler. Many of you already know that Leader Butler has served in the Senate for 22 years in many positions, including Deputy Whip, Vice Chair of the caucus, and caucus's chair. She has served under several administrations and witnessed many changes. What you may not know is that she came into politics late in life after raising 2 daughters and a career centered primarily in bookkeeping. In her 40s, she began a voter registration operation in DeKalb County. It was so successful, it caught the eye of former Congresswoman Cynthia McKinney, who hired Butler and took her to Washington. There, Leader Butler managed Congresswoman's agricultural portfolio, traveling all over the country to learn from our nation's farmer. Managing a congressional agriculture program was an ironic twist, since Butler spent many of her childhood summers on her aunt's Georgia farm. The home had no indoor plumbing, and the young Butler didn't like working on the farm, as she regularly told her family. In more than 20 years of her political career, Leader Butler has contributed her talent to many organizations, including AmeriCorps, the National Council of Negro Women, the NAACP, NCSL, and the list goes on. She has traveled all over the world She has many grandchildren and great-grandchildren. She continued to live a full and happy life. Most importantly, Leader Butler has contributed positively to the lives of many Georgians. The carbon monoxide indicator in your new home build, that was Gloria Butler. A tax credit for children and dependent care facilities, Gloria Butler. Gloria Butler lives with a quiet grace that belies her "I'll not give up" attitude. Every single day, she demonstrated that when you impact the world around, she's a living history. We honor Leader Gloria Butler today during Black History Month. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the way.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 34th for a point of personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the Senate. I rise to wish my only brother, Jonathan Calvin Martin, a heavenly birthday. You see, my brother went on to be with the Lord back in 1999, but today, February 18th, is special on many levels. In addition to my only brother's birthday, my parents were married on February 18th, and they gave birth to my brother the following year on February 18th. So right now, I'm feeling like there's a party going on up there. They're not only celebrating the anniversary, they're not only celebrating my mom and my brother's birthday, but they are celebrating it together. And while that may sound odd to many, when you think about your family, I recently had to say goodbye to my favorite aunt, my daddy's sister, who I was blessed to have with us 91 years. Her birthday is tomorrow, and she's gone on to be with the Lord. So as we sit in this chamber amidst a pandemic like we've never seen before, I am not ready to go join them. So I'm asking everyone, mask up, social distance where you can, wash your hands, and do all those things that the CDC and others are recommending so that we can all stay safe and wish each other an earthly birthday. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll yield the will.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 13th for a point of personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise to come before you today, colleagues, to tell you about true Black history. We keep talking about Black History Month, and when we talk about people from Black History Month, it's usually people that we've known or people that has made impact in the world that have gone on before us. Today I rise to tell you about a lady from Cornell, Georgia, a beautiful soul. Today is her birthday, and I would like for the Senate to wish her a happy birthday, and when I get through telling you about her, I'll explain why. This beautiful woman is 108 years old today, and she still has incredible foresight and the gift of gab. This lady got on the phone and made phone calls for me in my election. She is sharp as a tack. The Crisp County Commissioners gave this woman a proclamation and the key to the city on her 108th birthday, and I will venture to say, I doubt any of us in this chamber will ever be able to top that. So when you think of black history and what this lady has seen and what she has been through in her life, she is a shining example of a person who is loved on every level. Please join me in wishing Miss Lucille Denard Snizer a 108th-year-old birthday. Thank you. And with that, Mr. President, I yield the world. Well.
Thank you, Senator. I want to take a moment of personal privilege to, first of all, thank Collins on our team, Collins Udekebo, for helping us arrange just a fantastic event. We've had a couple of Black History Month events over the last few years out of the Lieutenant Governor's office. And obviously with COVID, it was a difficult situation. And Collins and a number of other folks, Senator Halpern, I probably need to call your number. The senator from the 39th helped us put together an awesome art display. And I really got to tell you, it was so fun to really talk to the artists. From somebody who has zero artistic talent, to be able to have them walk you through how they designed these and what their thoughts were and the materials they used was truly fascinating. So thank you to everybody here that helped pull off our event here at the Capitol this month, and definitely look forward to doing it again next year. Thank you. You've got a consent calendar of privileged resolutions before you. Does any senator wish to remove a resolution from the consent calendar? Chair sees none. Is there objection to adoption of the resolutions on the consent calendar? The chair hears none, and the resolutions on the consent calendar are adopted. Are there any motions to withdraw and commit? Chair sees none. We are now going to move on to the rules calendar. Mr. Secretary, can you please read the caption of Senate Bill 46?
Senate Bill 46 by Senator Burke of the 11th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Title 31 of the OCGA relating to health so as to authorize certain medical personnel to administer vaccines during public health emergencies under certain conditions, to provide for vaccination information to third parties under certain public health conditions. The Senate Committee on Health and Human Services recommends that this bill do pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Senator Watson of the 1st.
Mr. Secretary, can you read the amendments too? We have Amendment 1 and 1A.
Health and Human Services offers the following substitute to Senate Bill 46 to amend Title 31 of the OCGA relating to health so as to authorize certain medical personnel to administer vaccines during public health emergencies under certain conditions, to provide for vaccination information to third parties under certain public health conditions.
Amendment 1 by Senator
Burke of the 11th.
Is that Burke?
Yeah. Amendment 1 by Senator Burke of the 11th and all others offers the following amendment. Amend the substitute SB 46 by striking lines 51 through 68 and inserting in lieu thereof the following: individually identifiable vaccination information regarding a person may, without the consent of the person or the person's parents or guardians, be provided to the department by or released by the department to and for other purposes. Amendment 1A by Senators Burke of the 11th and others offered the following amendment to Senate Bill 46 by deleting E-1 and inserting in lieu thereof C for vaccines administered to a declared public health emergency as defined in OCGA 38-3-51, a third party that is authorized by law to collect and receive such information for the purpose of averting a serious and imminent threat to life and safety, so as long as such third party adheres to state and federal privacy laws without the consent of the person or person's parents or guardians and for other purposes. This completes the order, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 11th to speak to the bill and to the amendments.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning. We'll bring to you guys Senate Bill 46, which is a Department of Public Health bill that was requested by Dr. Toomey and her staff, and I was honored to be asked to carry it. The couple things about the bill, it does clear up some old language, such as paper cards, identifying cards that back when I was a kid and you went to the health department, they gave you a little piece of paper with your name on it and what vaccine you got that day. And, you know, that was kind of a status symbol similar to those little bank books when you put your money in the piggy bank and they gave you a little book and told you what money you deposited, and you always thought you were rich, at least I did. So again, some old language in the code that we're cleaning up. The other thing it does is it codifies several things that the governor and the public health put in place during this public health emergency. It codifies pharmacists being able to give the COVID vaccine. And I've had several questions about which pharmacist, and it's basically any pharmacist that applies for it is allowed to do that. And of course they have the training to give vaccinations. The other areas are EMTs and cardiac technicians. Again, these are people who are well trained and capable of providing vaccinations. It also codifies what we call GRITS. GRITS is the system that the state has used for probably 2 decades or more to actually act as a registry for vaccinations, so you don't have to get a card anymore. And technology allows that information to be accessed if you switch doctors. You go from one pediatrician to another, they can find your records. And also if you have a reaction or a problem, they know who they gave it to, or if they find out later that there was a problem with that particular vaccine as far as side effects, then they know who they gave it to. So very, very important public health information. Now I want to tell you a couple of things that this bill doesn't do, because there's been a lot of controversy by people who don't really understand the language here, because it obviously is written in legal language. But this is not a vaccine mandate. Can I say that again? This is not a vaccine mandate. Nobody is being required to get a vaccine. One of the other areas of concern, and I'll explain a little more detail in the amendments, but there is a current option for parents to opt out of putting their child's information into GRITS. And that information, or that option, is for the normal childhood vaccinations. If and when the FDA approves vaccinations for COVID for children, then because of our agreement with the CDC, I can't hear myself.
I would ask that the Senate give their undivided attention to the senator in the well. I can assure you what he's speaking of is very important.
Thank you, Mr. President. If and when the COVID vaccine gets FDA designation that we can administer it to children, then the CDC is requiring information about that vaccination. But again, it's considered experimental. You have to sign a consent form to get it. So the CDC is requiring information about who got it and when. Now, the only data point, my understanding from public health, that the CDC is getting right now is that the vaccine was given to an individual and this is his birth date. So it's just one piece of information that is going to the federal government. There have been some concerns about the fact that we're putting personal information into GRITS, but again, we've been doing that for many, many years without any real problems. And if you are concerned about that information going to the federal government, or to the state government for that matter, you can opt out of the vaccination program. People do that. I don't think that's good health decisions for parents to be opting out of children's vaccines, but there is no mandate that you have to have it, except from sometimes some private companies that require certain vaccinations if you want to work for them. So those are the highlights of the bill. Amendment 1 basically clarifies that information I was talking about, that you can't opt out of the COVID vaccination from the standpoint of reporting if your child gets it. It also specifies that this is only for declared public health emergency. So again, this does not reach childhood vaccinations in general. In Amendment 1A, and in the abundance of caution, we're actually putting in the code section. That's on line 6, the OCGA 38-351, that actually defines what a declared public health emergency is. So that language there is mainly just, again, to be redundant, to make sure people understand we're only talking about pandemics that have been declared by the governor, but also ratified by this body. The governor can't declare a public health emergency without us ratifying it. And then the other thing the amendment does is it adds on line 13 on Amendment 1 that those agencies that we submit that information to adhere to state and federal privacy laws. Again, abundance of caution. That's in our world of healthcare, that's readily apparent. Anyone who works in healthcare signs HIPAA information every year. They get trained on it, but to make sure that people's private information stays private. Mr. President, appreciate the indulgence and time this morning, and be glad to answer questions if there are any.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 19th for a question.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Gill?
Yes, sir, I will.
Senator, my question is to the amendments. It looks to me, and if you're ready to speak to them now, is now the appropriate time?
I have spoken to them.
On Amendment 1A, it looks like the only difference is the addition of language in part of line 13, 14, and 15 of Amendment 1A.
That's right.
Is that language not already covered in Amendment 1 on lines 3 and 4?
I think, again, the purpose of Amendment 1A, and you know, this was done with legal counsel, was just clarifying that a declared public health emergency is defined in code section 38-3-51 on line 6. That's the only purpose of Amendment 1A.
Thank you, Senator. I may follow up with a question later on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Does any of the senator have a question? Chair sees none.
Yield the will.
Does any other senator wish to speak for or against Senate Bill 46 or the two amendments? The chair sees none. All right, we'll take up amendment number 1, 1A. We'll take up amendment 1A. The question is on the adoption of amendment 1A by the senator from the 11th. Is there objection? The chair hears none, and amendment 1A is adopted. Now we'll take up amendment number 1 as amended by the senator from the 11th. Is there objection to the adoption of amendment number 1? The chair hears none, and amendment number 1 is adopted as amended. What purpose does the senator from the 27th rise?
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent to excuse the senator from the 28th.
28th?
28th, yes,
Without
sir.
objection, the senator from the 28th is excused. The question is on the adoption of the committee substitute as amended. Is there objection to adoption of the committee substitute as amended? The chair hears none, and the committee substitute as amended is adopted. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? Chair hears none, and the main question is ordered. Questions on the passage of the bill by substitute. All those in favor of the bill will vote yea. Opposed, nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. Have all senators voted? Have all senators voted? Hallways clear. Mr. Secretary, please oh, we got one more. I know who that one is. There he is. Mr. Secretary, please close the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 47, the nays are 3. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed by substitute. Chair recognizes the majority leader for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate stand adjourned until 10 o'clock on Monday, February 22nd, 2021.
Mr. Secretary, please read your announcements.
Rules Committee will meet upon adjournment in room 450. Judiciary Subcommittee B will meet at 1 p.m. in room 307 of CLOB. Public Safety Committee is canceled. Agriculture and Consumer Affairs Committee will meet at 2:15 in Mezzanine 1. Transportation Committee will meet at 2:15 in room 450. Regulated Industries Committee will meet at 3:30 in room 450. Government Oversight Committee is canceled. This completes the order, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes the pro tem to introduce the doctor of the day. It feels like your 20th doctor of the day. You must have a lot of doctor friends.
Always good to have a doctor friend, especially one like Jay Smith. If you haven't met Jay Smith, Mr. President, you need to. He's downstairs today in the...
He's in emergency medicine. I hope I never meet him.
I hope you don't need to meet him. I want you to meet him on good terms, not at his work. Meet him at your work. Jay grew up in Beaufort. He attended Georgia Tech, played football at Georgia Tech. Heck of a nice guy, an engaging, intelligent, a guy of impeccable character, a guy of keen intellect, a guy of impeccable integrity. He went to Medical College of Georgia, did his residency at Harvard, returned to Georgia to practice medicine. He and his wife, Courtney, are the proud parents of 5 beautiful kids. And Jay Smith and his family, absolutely, they're the salt of the earth. I mean, they are the kind of people that you like to have in your community. And Dr. Smith is downstairs providing health care for all of our legislators and our staff. And if you get a chance, go by and say hello to him, and appreciate very much the opportunity to speak of my dear friend, Dr. Smith. Thank you, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 36th for an announcement.
Thank you. And to my colleagues, I want to issue an invitation to join us to pick up your lunch for the Working Families Caucus program today upon adjournment in LOB 307. The lunches are available, and then you can Zoom from your office. And we are sponsored by the electrical workers and the United Food and Commercial Workers. Your grocery workers and your electric workers all around the state are our sponsors for our lunch, and we will be looking at bills that are moving in both chambers impacting working families. You're welcome to join us, and have a great weekend. Thank you.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 7th for an announcement.
Thank you. I'll be really quick. To the members of the body, you should have received an email to your official email address regarding the Sportsman Caucus. So if you're interested in joining the Sportsman Caucus, please fill out that and get it back to my office. I would appreciate it. And that is it, Mr. President. If you have any questions about that, just let me know. Thanks, sir. I yield the will.
Thank you, Senator. The Majority Leader has moved that the Senate stand adjourned until Monday, February 22nd, 2021 at 10 a.m. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The Senate will stand adjourned.